Chapter 19, The Last Temptation of Adderall. When you receive an 8th place medal in the 50-yard dash for E-Day, sometime in the 1980s, before helicopter moms ushered in the era of participation trophies for all, Joshua was bound to become obsessed with the topic of speed. Being the last kid in his class to get into the puberty party and bloom under his fruit of the looms didn't help. His fixation with being a permanent slowpoke in life from the start, losing his virginity sophomore year in college as he fumbled to put a condom on, as if he was being forced to fire live rounds from an AK-47 during Crips Appreciation Pledge Month, only rubbed in what a laggard in every sphere in life he had always been, taking forever to construct a freaking thesis statement for his big paper on French New Wave star director Francis Truffaut for his philosophy and film class before he possessed enough confidence in his own latent powers of expression didn't make Joshua feel like any less of a mental cripple. Combined with his surging intake of Moroccan hash and $75 an eighth weed from Hawaii out of a coconut hookah for $4.20 the day before, wasn't improving his expressive prowess either. Later, after Joshua transferred to Ithaca College, eventually getting into the esteemed Roy H. Park School of Communications, Joshua discovered the glorious endorphin rush of snorting crushed up Ritalin up his nose to loosen up his yak pipes and write all his thesis papers for media studies like a divine-powered, extra flowy angel on it. Fast forward to Joshua's time for working for an IT staffing agency, Adam Jacob and Associates, located on top of One Penn Plaza, high up in the 34th floor, overlooking the top of Madison Square Garden. His old school yet younger IT recruiter brother-in-arms, Kyle from Colorado, whose girlfriend he nicknamed Miss America, who was very impressed with Joshua's Always Sunny in Philadelphia spec script. The gang gets outsourced, got personal. So JK, if you had to choose your favorite drug, what would it be? Kyle asked with excitable anticipation. Without a second passing, Joshua didn't have to think about the answer one bit and said, Ritalin, easy. I love to write on the stuff. Then his recruiter bud, Kyle, fires back in a state of total bemused befuddlement, saying, your favorite drug of all time? It makes you want to work? Joshua laughed, long time! As the years progressed, Kyle would always tell Joshua in the city, in Manhattan, whenever they meet for a brew, and a one-hitter, outside for old time's sake, he'd say, I tell all my friends you're going to have your own show on HBO one day. Joshua always relished this unsolicited compliment of the classiest, coolest order. But Joshua's IT staffing boss had other ideas about Joshua's alleged improved performance on the Ritalin, time-release Adderall, and short, legalized prescription speed. Larry was prescribed Ritalin, but never took it much. Joshua wasn't prescribed Ritalin, but he'd give Joshua some pills if he asked. But he was never pleased with the results. You sound like shit on the phone on this stuff, JK, Larry would say. Joshua knew he was right, because on Ritalin, he became more insular, cerebral, socially withdrawn, a shell of his normally rambunctious, funny man, hot-pitching New York self. But Joshua's obsession with his need for speed didn't end there. Now, 3 unplanned kids later, Joshua bullshitted his doctor in Manhattan about being prescribed Ritalin in the past and got a prescription for time-release Adderall, which his younger brother described as the holy grail of Adderall, him being the more well-versed brother in the speed department, developing a taste for the nose candy back in junior high, from runs to Washington Heights, before his parents sent him to boarding school in Avon, Connecticut, not really thinking that move through. Considering his new group of friends there had easier access and more money for drugs on a much grander scale, but nobody's perfect. Plus, it wasn't Joshua's parents' fault that they couldn't trust their second-born to do his homework after watching Facts of Life and Different Strokes while they work full-time jobs, doing their best to advance the American dream in a cushy post-Clinton economy pre-9/11. On Adderall, Joshua was very productive. He wrote thousands of jokes for his Do It All Dad Year podcast as he fed the Twitter machine with religious fervor to test out his latest and greatest truth bomb joke blast for the ages. Still, Joshua knew he sounded better off the time release speed, knowing his tendency to talk much faster than most, despite his dead grandma's words of wisdom constantly buzzing in his ear. Slow down and take it easy, will you? Joshua, possessing some level of self-awareness, knew what an easily irritated asshole he could be on the almighty Adderall also. So he'd give his prescription to his wife to hide. Then they'd fight one day. He'd feel like a belittled stay-at-home dad eunuch again, so he'd go on a hunt for the latest and greatest hiding spot to reclaim his magical speed pills, to resume writing like a funny man Jewish angel again. But then one day, Joshua read a quote by famed writer Rod Serling, the creator of the TV show The Twilight Zone, another Ithaca alum, who said, "You're not a good writer if you need a drug to be one." The line shook Joshua's otherwise rock-solid mojo to its core. Even in college, Joshua was never at peace with being dependent on a drug to write well. Later, he didn't take Adderall before killing at the New York Comedy Club in Manhattan for his first major bringer show, in front of a fairly deep collection of old high school pals. After his first bringer show, a kid from Joshua's Pinko crew in high school, 1 year younger than Joshua, gave him a backhanded compliment even Joshua could accept wholeheartedly, saying, "Great show, Josh." "Joshua, that was amazing, and I don't even like you." That line still cracks up Joshua till this day. When Joshua wrote his 30 Rock spec script, The Kings of Comedy, which made him a recommended writer on TVWriter.com, he wasn't on Adderall during that entire writing process ever. Plus, if Joshua was now a true believer in God, it was in his best interest to say goodbye to Adderall and no longer raise his kids on speed, because deep down he knew he wasn't born into this world to become a dependent, bitchy diva speed freak for hire. Last, whenever Joshua would be particularly snippy around his 3 kids, telling them to pick up their magnet tiles or stuffed animals scattered on the floor, looking like someone dropped the atom bomb on top of F.A.O. Schwartz, his kids were already familiar enough with his bitchy, gruff mood swings on it, from not giving his cranked-up brain a much-needed rest on his commanded Saturday day of rest, and all state in unison, "Daddy's on Adderall again." Funny line, but Joshua had to stop this vicious, career-hampering cycle of anger issue, deepening dependence on the so-called alluring powers of the almighty speed devil, known as time-release Adderall, before it was too late.